Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. And today I'm going to be speaking about the emotion of anger. And so anger is truly a trance state, and we go into trance every day very easily on our own from time to time. And trance state is actually a state of hypnosis. Um, I recall actually a client who would become enraged when her boyfriend would do or say certain things. And normally this was a shy lady. One day she was in the local store and she became enraged and started yelling at him. And after a time, she actually just kind of awoke and awakened from this state. And she was actually mortified because she suddenly noticed all the people that were around that were staring. And she actually was taking quite a tantrum and was embarrassed after the fact. So she had basically zoned out everything outside of that rageful focus. And a trance state is actually a narrowed focus in which reality is perceived in very selective ways. Our self-consciousness disappears, and in the case of extreme anger, so does any thought of the consequences from that anger. So we can react fast into anger before we even have time to think about it. And because anger, like all strong emotions, works faster than the speed of thought, you see, people don't often think when the rage comes upon them. And it's almost like it hijacks the brain, right? It's like our emotions hijack our body sometimes. And the thoughts are not often involved until after the fact that it happens. You say, oh my goodness, where did that come from, right? So what can anger actually make us do? Well, we have emotions that get us moving. Many emotions move us away from the source of the feeling. So emotions like fear or terror, reluctance, and disgust urge you to actually move away. Now, we also have emotions that compel us toward the source of our feelings, like things like lust or greed, even addiction. And yes, anger is part of that too. So when doing therapy, people who suffer from away from emotions such as, fears and phobias, they're more motivated to change than those experiencing the towards emotional problems such as addiction. And that could be addiction to alcohol, drugs, or even food, gambling, sex, Netflix, and even social media. So anger, like lust, is filled with energy and focus. It might save our lives when it comes to the fight or flight response that is part of our survival. It might help us to stand up for ourselves as long as we can actually channel it effectively and know that anger has power, and power is very compelling. So when we're angry, the feelings of power and energy can be quite seductive and even addictive. Chronic anger is dangerous. And the danger extends beyond the relationship that could possibly be destroyed or the careers that could be ruined. Modern research into health and mortality has found that releasing extreme anger is just as damaging to the heart and immune function as keeping it in. You release it in unhealthy ways. And millions die or are traumatized because of other people's way that they choose to express unhealthily their anger or to suppress it. So getting very angry often is a bigger predictor of early death through heart disease than smoking, bad diet, and lack of exercise all put together. Even recalling times you felt very angry can be dangerously bad for your heart. And we make more mistakes when we have uncontrollable anger. So can anger make us dumb? A client of mine had done by his own admission, some pretty stupid things while he was enraged and angry. And because strong emotional arousal stops us thinking straight in that moment, this is also known as emotional hijacking. But first, we must deal with the feeling when it comes to this. So the trigger happy anger response will kick in faster than thought through when that when that feeling comes in, there's a few things that you can do when it starts to begin in your body and you can feel it. The first thing to do is to stop in your tracks. Focus in on your breath. And you can actually do a short little technique in the moment of inhaling quickly for the count of 7 in your mind, and then slowly exhale to the count of 11. So this is the famous 7-11 technique. It's during the exhalation that the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response, is actually triggered. And this will only take you around 60 seconds to calm down using this type of breathing. So once you're calm again, you'll notice you can actually think again and focus on possible consequences for yourself and for other people around you of actually losing it. So as well, we can use a rewiring technique that helps us change and even release anger at root cause, called the new emotional blueprint, or we can actually use and do timeline therapy techniques. So I'm going to tell you about the emotional blueprint method first. It's something that you can do on your own, is to briefly recall a time when you felt really angry. Just close your eyes and recall that time for no more than 10 seconds. Then you'll open your eyes and recall, how did that feel? You might have felt a little bit of that original anger feeling. And you can re-experiencing that time and actually learn something about that time. What do you have to learn from that event, right? And get the learnings about it. You can close your eyes again, and this time, recall that time calmly from the outside. Viewing the memory from a third-person position tends to instantly lower the emotion and the memory. I want you to notice certain aspects of that time that you might not have noticed before. Perhaps about your own, maybe facial expressions, or the other person's or the people around you. How is it different? We want to really engage your thinking in this part of the brain by calming the emotional centers and then encouraging this detached observation. So you'd open your eyes again and kind of describe recalling that memory from this perspective. How is it different? How does it feel different in your body when you recall it from this perspective? You can go back to the third person observation position again and watch that out of date time. But this time, imagine how it could have been had the anger not gotten the best of you. In this way, we can look at creating alternative emotional blueprints, like how could you have responded differently that would have been more appropriate for you and for the people around you. So this helps to work to calm the emotional mind before working with the cognitive mind and working with other techniques. So another technique that we do is called timeline therapy, where we release that root cause, the anger. And we do this for all negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, and anything else that comes up underneath those. Last year in the US, when doing my trainer's training, in our small group of 6, we had a cardiologist, medical doctor from California in our group, who told us that every patient that he works with, he always does timeline therapy with them first. Because releasing the negative emotions at root cause, releasing that anger, is beneficial for the heart and for heart disease. And so I'd also encourage you to ask yourself, what's missing and what are you needing? So emotions are signals, and anger is a signal that we actually need to fight. The trouble is that the signal can actually be faulty. So an alarm can go off when there's no real threat at all. So if you're feeling a little angry, you might want to ask yourself, what is it that you're not currently getting? What are you needing? What needs are being unmet? And just slow things down and ask yourself, what do I need right now? Of course, anger may be fully justified, but by clearly identifying which need is not being met, we can at least give ourselves time to think about, what might be the best way to meet those needs. And, you want to stop the all or nothing thinking or that black and white. We know that, people who are depressed, perhaps anxious, and angry people think in black or white thinking. Suicidal people use the most absolute language of all or nothing. Angry people often have this all or nothing approach to life and to reality, to their reality, right? Because we create our own reality. And all or nothing thought happens more and more with the more emotional that we become. And so the closer that we are to that all or nothing state of that fight or flight, the more our thinking will actually relate to that state. So strong emotions make us think in absolute terms, and absolute terms in turn actually make us more emotional. So being able to see that bigger picture, or maybe another picture, can dissipate anger and other emotional trance states that rely on limited and rigid perceptions. Could you see this person or this event that's happening outside of you in a different light, in a different way? Could you perceive it differently? Or you can also ask yourself, what if I'm just totally wrong about this, right? So you could be perceiving things kind of in your all or nothing thinking instead of maybe looking at it from a different perspective. And I'll leave you with the last words to the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Anybody can become angry, that's easy. But to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy, but it's certainly possible. So I'm Lynn Thier, everyone, your mental fitness trainer. I'd love for you to check out my website, lynthier.com, and I'm wishing you a great week ahead. Be well, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.